So picture this for a second. You are the hero of your own story, but right now, you're caught in a trap. Now, this isn't some physical snare made of iron or rope, right? It's a chemical trap, and it exists entirely inside your own mind. We so often beat ourselves up over this. We think our impulses and our urges are this deep moral failing, or like we just have a massive lack of character. But what if I told you that you are literally just fighting a deeply ingrained biological pattern? Well, in this explainer, we're going to unpack the exact science of this trap and, way more importantly, give you the absolute best map to finally break free.
Our starting point here is incredibly simple, but it is so profound. Lust is not a weakness. It's a chemical trap. It's literally a trap your brain has been trained to fall into. And we really need to understand something crucial right out of the gate. This directly affects your focus, your energy, your confidence, and how you make decisions. Because every single time you give in to an urge without thinking, your brain learns a really dangerous pattern. It learns that whenever things get uncomfortable, you just escape. And that pattern, it doesn't stay contained. It leaks into your discipline, your work, your relationships, pretty much the whole shebang.
Act 1. The biology of the trap.
Okay, so to actually defeat this trap, we first have to understand the mechanics of how it's holding us hostage. We've got to look under the hood at the biology driving our hardest battles. So every time you act on an impulse or an urge, your brain releases dopamine. Now, we hear about dopamine all the time, but in this specific context, it acts as this very loud, very persuasive reward chemical. It essentially shouts to your brain, "Wow, that felt amazing, do it again." The catch here is, the more you repeat that loop, the more sensitive your brain actually becomes to the trigger that started it all in the first place.
Neuroscientists have a name for this. They call it neural pathway reinforcement. So picture a little stickman protagonist. That's you, trying to navigate through a really dense, overgrown forest. Every single time you give in to that urge, our stickman walks down the exact same path. He's clearing away the brush, he's stomping down the dirt, and eventually, walking that path becomes completely automatic. So you see, it's actually not a lack of willpower at all. It is a highly trained response.
So walking that old, worn path, it's automatic, it's easy. It requires absolutely zero effort from our stickman. But building a brand new, healthier path, well, that means you're bushwhacking through thick, untouched forest. It feels incredibly hard. But listen to me, it's not because you're weak. It's simply because the old path is just so deeply worn in. The good news? Trained responses can absolutely be retrained.
Act 2. The false ally. So now that we know how the trap actually works, let's take a look at how we usually try to fight it. Our hero naturally reaches for a weapon to cut through that forest, but unfortunately, they usually grab a false ally, and that ally is willpower. People always think, you know what, I'll just say I won't do this anymore, I'll just use my willpower. But willpower behaves exactly like a muscle. It's totally fresh and high in the morning, but as the afternoon rolls in and you're making decisions and handling all the stress of the day, it depletes down to medium. By night, it is completely low, you're running on fumes. This is a totally predictable biological pattern, and honestly, it perfectly explains why those urges hit you the absolute hardest at night.
And because we fundamentally misunderstand willpower, we fall for this massive myth. The myth of, I'll just be strong once and it will be gone forever. Let's just clear this up right now. This is not a switch you can just flip on or off. Retraining your brain is a daily skill that you have to build, literally just like lifting weights in the gym. Every single time you handle an urge the right way, you get a little bit stronger. But every time you give in without thinking, that old pathway just gets a little bit deeper.
Act 3. The magic weapon.
Okay, so if willpower is the false ally, what is our hero's true arsenal? Well, we need a system that doesn't rely on us being perfectly strong 100% of the time, right? We need real tools based on actual neuroscience and behavioral psychology. So here is your 3-step magic weapon. This is a totally practical framework to actually escape the trap and rewire your brain. Step 1, identify the trigger. Step 2, urge surfing. And step 3, replace, don't suppress. Let's break down exactly how you wield each of these steps.
Step 1 is all about gathering intelligence. Because honestly, until you know your specific pattern, you are just fighting blind. You have to start by noticing when the urge actually hits the hardest. Is it late at night when you're completely alone? Is it while you're just mindlessly scrolling your phone out of boredom? Maybe it's right after a stressful event. I want you to be a detective for one entire week. Literally note down what time it was, where you were, and exactly what you were feeling. I promise you, within a week, that invisible trap becomes totally visible.
Moving on to step 2. This is a really fascinating psychology technique used all the time in addiction recovery, and it's called urge surfing. When that urge hits, your absolute first instinct is going to be to fight it or push it down. Don't. Actually, just observe it. See, when you fight an urge, it usually feels stronger because you're creating all this friction and resistance. But when you simply observe it and just tell yourself, okay, this is just a feeling, and it will pass, you completely strip the urge of its power over you.
Think of the urge exactly like a wave in the ocean. It rises, it builds to this really intense peak, and then, if you just surf it, it naturally fades away. The science actually shows this entire wave usually lasts only about 15 to 20 minutes. That's it. You don't have to fight the whole ocean, you literally just have to balance on the surfboard and wait for the water to calm down.
But listen, while you're out there surfing, you have to execute step 3. Replace, don't suppress. Suppression simply does not work. If you try to tell your brain, don't think about it, your brain is going to fixate on exactly that thing. To truly start bushwhacking that new path in the forest we talked about, you need to take immediate physical action to replace the mental fixation.
So what does that look like? Well, here are some highly effective, totally healthy outlets. Drop down and do some push-ups. Go take a freezing cold shower. Take a really brisk walk outside. You just need to do anything that forcefully engages your physical body right in that moment. What this does is it gives your brain's craving for dopamine a healthy, productive outlet. And over time, your brain actually connects the trigger to this new, positive physical action, carving out that brand new neural pathway.
Act 4. Designing the environment. Now, relying entirely on these in-the-moment techniques, that's still playing the game on hard mode. To truly master the trap, our hero needs to reshape the very world they're walking through. The real secret here is changing your environment so you just need less willpower in the first place. So keep your phone entirely out of the bedroom at night. Put strict limits or blockers on the apps that trigger you. Recognize that boredom is a massive trigger for almost everyone, so keep a physical activity or a hobby ready to go at a moment's notice. And this is absolutely crucial. Fix your sleep schedule. Remember that willpower chart? When you're totally exhausted, your willpower automatically tanks. You have to protect your sleep to protect your defenses.
All right, let's dive into some common mistakes you definitely want to avoid on this journey. Mistake number 1, all or nothing thinking. You know, if you have one bad day, you think the whole thing is over. The reality? One slip doesn't make a pattern unless you let it. Mistake number 2, relying only on suppression. The reality is, you absolutely must have a backup physical action ready to go. And mistake number 3, fighting in isolation. The hard reality is that fighting alone is always, always harder. Talk to a trusted friend. Find an accountability partner. Don't do this alone.
Act 5. The transformation. As we navigate all these steps and actively redesign our environment, we finally arrive at the ultimate destination of our hero's journey. And let me tell you, this is about so much more than just changing a single habit or behavior. It is literally about rebuilding your self-respect. Because every time you break a promise to yourself, you subconsciously lose trust in yourself, and that completely wrecks your confidence. But every single time you successfully handle an urge, no matter how incredibly small it might seem, you are giving yourself undeniable proof. You proved yourself, my mind controls me, not my impulses. And that feeling, it compounds. The more you practice it, the stronger that totally new identity becomes.
So remember your map out of the trap. You're going to identify the trigger, you're going to surf the urge, you'll replace it with a physical action, and you'll design your environment for success. Remember, this isn't a one-day fight. It's a daily practice skill that makes you stronger one single choice at a time. The path is right there in front of you, so the only question left for you is, which step are you starting with today?